Ah, Luc.
Ah,
Ça va?
Ça va met u?
Het kan niet beter. Het kan niet beter, want zie je deze? Dat is een nieuwe micro, Luc. Dat is een nieuwe micro. En onze problemen van al die slechte audio, al die vorige video's, zijn eindelijk voorbij. Eindelijk voorbij. Dus ik ben in een heel goede humeur. En je weet wat dat betekent voor u, hè?
Ga er dan geen balken op mij slagen?
Hey, geen bal op u vandaag. Wat misschien jammer is voor de kijker, maar ça va. Jij hebt het verdiend, jij hebt het verdiend. En ik zeg het, mijn humeur kan niet stuk. Mijn humeur kan niet stuk.
Top, top. En wat gaan we vandaag dan doen?
Ja, ik had het nog niet eens gezegd. Zeg. Vandaag is het vervolg, het lang verwachte vervolg, op Service 101. Service 201. Zijn er klaar voor, Luc?
Ik ben er klaar.
Ik ben er helemaal klaar voor. Wat? Ah. Ja. So guys, welcome back again to the hall in Antwerp, Kilipong, hall of my sponsor. And today we're going to look at the second surf video, Service 201. Today, again, as if you watched last video, you'll find out that in this sort of video mini-series, we're not looking into a particular surf or a technique of a particular surf, but we're more going to look at some sort of universal or barely universal principles which should apply to a lot of surfs at the same time. And the first principle that we're going to look into is to touch the ball around shoulder height. Shoulder height, I don't mean the height of your shoulder, but I mean in like the same length of your shoulder, sort of like parallel to your shoulder. Because what you'll see a lot of people do is when they're trying out or learning a new surf is they want to surf a little bit in the table. I mean, like the perfect example for this is a reverse pendulum surf. And what you'll do, you'll see a lot of people touch the ball way too much in front of their body, or, which doesn't occur so often, touch the ball a little bit too much behind themselves. So, an example is this. See this surf, okay, it came in the net. Try to do one more time. It's way too obvious what somebody's doing with this surf. And even though it might give them a little bit of control at first, it's something which you should keep in mind, and you should try to maybe use this as a stepping stone to get all the other things of the surf right before you try to go back and you switch again to touching the surf at the right height. And this should be like in front of your shoulder. Again, as I said about camouflaging your surf, so this is one of the most important things to keep in mind. And that's the shoulder is something like an indication. It's not an entirely perfect science, but at this height, at this point, you'll be able to camouflage your surfs much better. And yeah, see, camouflaging, that's what surf is all about. So if I'm going to surf a reverse pendulum surf, as I did before, and I'm going to touch it a bit too much in front of me, and I'm going to touch it too much below the ball, it's going to be too obvious for the receiver if I'm going to surf with topspin. The difference in movement is going to be too big. Well, if I'm surfing, once again, with the correct point of contact, like a little bit in front of me, so this is where I would touch the ball, then this is a downspin surf, but this is a topspin surf. So there might be some small differences. I'm not paying perfect attention to it. I miss both surfs, okay, so it's quite cold in the hall. I'm not too warmed up. I'm giving countless of excuses. But at least you'll see that the movements are much more similar to each other. And yeah, that's what you should keep in mind. So as a sort of guideline, try to touch the ball like in front of your shoulder, at shoulder height. Okay, second key point is not to be fooled by viral videos. On YouTube or wherever you want, you'll see a lot of people trying to teach you like something like a ghost surf or something, which is basically just a backspin surf that stays over the table and rolls back into the net. And it might look cool at first, but it's not something which is very useful in match, because, I mean, it's way too easy to receive short on this if your surf comes too short. So it's not very practical. There are some nuances to it, and I'll get into it in next key point. But overall, if you want to surf short, basically you want a second bounce which comes near the end of the table. And because, again, that's much more difficult to receive short on, because let's compare the two, okay? What surf do you think would be easier to receive short on? This surf, where you touch the ball there, or where you touch the ball over there, a little bit deeper. Yeah, see, it's going to be much more difficult on this one. And that is just a basic sort of physics thingy. And yeah, so these viral sort of little videos about the ghost serves, about a serve that looks like it has a lot of backspin, might look cool, doesn't really work. Third key point is from something similar from last video, from Service 101. See, in that video there was one key point that was called try to know the difference between a serve in the short forehand, in the short forehand, in the short forehand. So if that's not complicated enough, I'm just going to make it more complicated by saying, well, you also need to know the difference between a serve in the short forehand, in the short forehand, and the short forehand. Twice. Because now, before we were talking about the placement, of the small differences in placement, towards the side, more towards the corners. Now we're going to talk about the depth of the serve. And as I said in last key point, see, if you serve very short, it's too easy to receive short on. But if you serve a little bit longer, sometimes for some people it's going to be too easy to flick on. So you'll want to vary the two of those. You want to switch things up a little bit according what your match situation is. There's not really a right or wrong in this case. And as an example, I'll give you some sort of a quiz and I'll show you 3 serves and I want you guys to know or look at the difference in the bounce, in the depth, or just the rhythm of how the ball is bouncing. Maybe you found out the difference already, but let's now do it without any video. As you might have picked up, some serves are a little bit faster, are a little bit slower, and these all help in breaking the rhythm of your opponent, which is also very important. You don't want to be too monotonous in your game, even with these small differences in serve, which might have something to do with the depth of your serve, but not even the depth. Sometimes it's also just about you serving a little bit more or a little bit less into the table. All these things can help you vary your serve even more and bring your game to the next level. Yeah. Key point 4 is also something which we discussed in the previous video in Service 101, but because of some requests and because of just my conviction itself, I wanted to explain it in a little bit more of a detailed way. Where we were talking about the way of camouflaging your serve by changing the point of contact. See, normally as like a sort of ground rule, if you touch the ball on the bottom side of your racket, it's going to be with downspin, the top side of your racket is going to be with topspin, and the back side of your racket is going to be with no spin. So it depends on what serve you're doing. So I'm not going to go into each and every one of those because that would be just way too lengthy. But we'll just compare, let's say, a reverse pendulum serve. We'll start with the reverse pendulum serve. So, because I'm touching the ball in this way, this is going to be backspin. This part here, the top part, is going to be with topspin. And maybe the end here is going to be like a little kick serve, So the top of your racket at the end is going to be a little bit of a kick serve. Now, regular side spin serve, bottom part backspin, top part here is going to be topspin, and the last bit of rubber on the racket is going to be for no spin. The final serve maybe, which we'll look into, is a sort of scoop serve. And this serve can be done in a few different ways, because you can touch the ball, let's say, with your racket head first, with the point of your racket first, but you can also do it a little bit more from the side. So again, so you see how many sort of differences there are. So it's going to be too difficult for me to explain, and for me to get into each and every one of those, it's going to be too long. So instead, let's just do sort of like a little quiz. So I'm going to do some serves, and Luc will receive those. And right before he touches the ball, I'm going to freeze the frame, and you're going to have to guess which serve it was. If it was one with topspin, with backspin, or with no spin. And comment below how many of those you got right. Okay guys, fifth and last key point. Now we're going to look at the toss. So the toss should be always almost the same, or it should always be the same actually, because that is also one way of camouflaging your serve a little bit better. And I'm going to tell you a little story to compare. When I was young, I used to play tennis. My dad would teach me and my sister. And when we were doing serve practice, he would always put like a little circle, a little pad on the floor, and we would toss the ball up, and we would have to hit the ball with, we would have to hit the pad with the ball so that we could get a consistent toss. Again, as a way of camouflaging, because this is also another level to camouflaging. It's not only the same movement, the same aperture of your racket, the same point, the different point of contact. It's also the toss. So that is also another level. And so I'm going to demonstrate it from that side over there, because that helps us. Just remove the camera here. Because a lot of times when people want to serve long, they're going to toss the ball a little bit more to the front. See, if I'm serving short, if I'm just a regular guy, I'm serving short, probably what's going to happen, I'm going to toss the ball, throw the ball up a little bit towards me, which is not bad necessarily, just the way it goes. But if I'm going to serve long, thank you. If I'm going to serve long, then because I'm a little bit scared that I'm going to touch the ball too much to the side, that I won't be able to serve down the line anymore, well, then I'm going to throw it a little bit more in front of me. And you see, this difference in toss is something which a receiver can pick up, and that way he will be ready for the long serve already. So here, this toss, it's different. It's different and it's too obvious. This difference in toss, it's too obvious. So try to keep this in mind when you're serving down the line, when you're serving just an overall long serve, that you want to keep your toss the same. You want, with the same toss, you want to have every opportunity imaginable. You want to be able to serve short diagonal, short down the line, long diagonal, long down the line, everything with the same toss. Okay guys, that was the video. Again, thank you very much for watching. I think I have one more video in stock of sort of these mini series about the serve. So Service 301 will come out someday, not in the too near future. But as for now, just thank you for watching. I hope you got something from it, which, yeah, this is my main goal when making these videos. And please leave a comment down below if you have any questions, suggestions for other videos, if you want to have a sort of note, if you have anything to add on to what I said, then please just leave something down below. I always appreciate the feedback that I get or the discussion that can come from these videos. But for now, thank you for watching and hopefully I will see you next time.